What's up, everybody? This is Devin White, linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're listening to the LCC Network. Go Bucks.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Commissioner's Clubhouse and the LCC Network for the 31st episode of this fantasy offseason. We have got our DB rankings for you guys this evening. I've got Jameson and Cody on the show, like always. How's it going, y'all?
What's good? What's good? What's good?
Happy Monday.
How's it? Yeah, can Mondays be happy? Is that allowed?
It's like our Monday Night Football, except we're recording a podcast, and there's no real football going on.
Yeah.
And there might
At
not
least
be.
yeah, there might not be. I mean, we're about a month away now from the start of the season. So guys, this is probably I think it's our last rankings episode with the DBs. So it'll be good to get back into some of the LCC stuff here starting next week. I think, I don't know about you guys, but for me, this is probably one of the hardest rankings we've had to do over the course of the last few weeks.
Yes.
And I think we've had, outside of our top 10, we have a lot of differences in how we ranked these DBs here. So these are probably going to be the hardest to nail down. They change frequently. There's all sorts of different schemes and different things that can change how these guys might finish. But we'll go ahead and kick it off here. We'll use one of these sound drops that Pat wanted us to add. So let's go with this one here.
Backyard Football 2002, baby. It's a throwback.
Goodness, 18 years. All right, so we'll get started here, guys. In the top 10, we'll do the top 12. In the top 12, no surprise here. In fact, this is where we have the least amount of change between our players here. Number one consensus across the board. I think for the first time this offseason, except for maybe the Christian McCaffrey thing, this is the first time we've had a consensus guy all the way across the board. It's Jamal Adams at number one. In Seattle, I think, is everybody here more confident with him in Seattle than they were with the Jets? Is that an upgrade for you?
You know, it's hard to say because they've got Bobby Wagner. I think he's still going to be the number one guy, but I do wonder if he's going to regress just a little bit because of that. He's no longer going to be the leading tackler for his team. In fact, he doesn't even have a shot. I mean, he'll definitely be probably number two, but I think Bobby's going to hold that spot down.
Okay. 2 and 3 here. Cody, you got any thoughts on that, Jamal Adams?
Nah, man. Yeah, I mean, I like him in Seattle better. I think they run a better scheme for him to make plays.
Yeah, I definitely like him there.
At the end of the day, and he's got more playmakers around him, and that never hurts.
Number 2 and 3, Budda Baker and Derwin James, respectively. Budda Baker, Pat, we talked about it over the weekend that in last year's DB episode, we specifically mentioned Budda Baker as a borderline DB1 last year because of, I guess, I don't even remember. It's been what feels like, an eternity now, but I feel foolish putting him where we had him last year. And so we've all got him in the top 3. I got him at 3. You guys got him at 2. Derwin James, again, you guys have him at 3. I've got him at 2. There with the Chargers. John Johnson is our consensus 4, all the way across the board. Landon Collins at 5. Jordan Poyer at 6. Justin Simmons at 7. I think this is a player that both of you guys like a lot, if I'm not mistaken. Cody, you traded for Justin Simmons in one of our other leagues. Pat, you've been a Justin Simmons believer for like 2 years, at least 2 years now. So he falls in our consensus 7. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah.
Okay with it.
Oh, yeah. I think that's a good spot for him.
Okay. He's high volume, man. Like, if he can have a high interception season, the tackles are always going to be there.
Yeah, they will. He's franchise tagged right now, isn't he?
He is.
Did they ever sign him? Okay.
No, he's franchise.
Number 8, Harrison Smith. I feel like he's kind of been one of the staples there for years. Never has no ability to be a top 3, I don't feel like. But he's always a staple in the top 10 consistent safety there. Jesse Bates at 9. Tracy Walker, an up-and-comer from last year, at 10. 11 is Jabril Peppers. And 12, talking about up-and-comers, Taylor Rapp, a guy that I love a lot. So those are our top 12 DBs. So I guess kind of the first group of 4. My question mark here to you guys, I guess a couple of them, and they're here at the back of this group here. Tracy Walker came out of nowhere last year with the Lions. You both have him ranked in the top 10. I have him at 13. So I'm assuming you guys are very confident that he's going to pick right back up where he left off last year.
I don't see why not.
Yeah. I mean, Detroit does not have a good linebacking core. I mean, Tracy Walker, if anything, is at least going to be the leader in tackles for that defense or one of the top 2 or 3 tacklers in that defense.
Yeah,
that was kind of.
Go
ahead.
You can go. You got it.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say and they didn't exactly get better defensively, in my opinion. I mean, they got a couple nice guys with Collins. They got Collins playing outside linebacker, D end, whatever system they're running, the 3-4, I think it is. But the secondary got no better. If anything, it got worse.
Yeah, they lost Quandre Digg last year, and then they traded Darius Slay as well. Yep, they did add Trey Flowers, but that's kind of on the front there in the line. That doesn't really do much in the secondary. Yeah, there's no one there to make tackles. Jared Davis has done. He's just been so underwhelming in that defense there, and I guess someone had to step up and make tackles there. So Tracy Walker, 11, Jabril Peppers. Honestly, he only fell this far for me because of the Xavier McKinney pick in the first round and Blake Martinez there in the linebacking spot. I do have a little bit of a concern for Peppers, but I think he's versatile enough that he can still hold his own and get tackles. But he did drop a little bit in all of our rankings. I mean, you guys have him outside of the top 10. I've still got him there at 8, but I think everyone is a little bit disappointed for his fantasy stock with what happened in the offseason.
I just think at the end of the day, there's more question marks with the guys behind him than I have with him. Because if you really look at some of the guys that maybe people are thinking that could go ahead of them, Jabril Peppers, I mean, he hasn't really had a full consistent season yet, in my opinion. Taylor Rapp, same thing as Tracy, 1 year, hasn't been a full season. Minka, 1 year really. Last year was his really good year. Jonathan Abrams hasn't had that year. Byers, he's kind of maybe 2 years removed from being an elite safety. Keanu just gets hurt. Like, all the other guys have question marks, is my point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think this next group, like you mentioned that you just went through, I think it pretty much embodies that, at that second spot there. So number 13 through 24 here. Speaking of Minka Fitzpatrick, came on strong in Pittsburgh. Consensus 13. Cody and I have him in the top 10 at number 9. Pat, you've got him all the way down at 23. 23, you've got Minka Fitzpatrick. How do you feel about what's with the discrepancy there? I think that's my question. What's with the 14 player gap?
So for me, the reason why I'm a little more down on Minka is the fact that I believe in Terrell Edmonds actually more than Minka, and that's my personal opinion. Just because Terrell is playing in that strong safety spot, and I think he has a better chance to get more tackles. But what hurts both of those guys more than anything is Devin Bush, Bud Dupree, and T.J. Watt. All 3 of those guys not only can make the big plays with sacks and interceptions, but they're going to rack up tackles too. And I think that really does hurt Terrell Edmonds and Minka's ceiling, if anything. Their floor is pretty decent, but their ceiling is capped only so high because of what those guys are able to do in the front 7.
No, I see the way I look at it, and Minka's going to be in a tad different role this year, or at least that's what's coming out of the camp. Minka's going to be kind of playing a little more freelancing. He's not going to just play the middle. They said they're going to try to line him up sometimes in the nickel and things like that, just to try to use as much of him as possible. So for me, that's why I elevated him a little bit more. Not only is I just feel like he's got the instincts to be around the ball like 24/7, but like when he is around the ball, he makes plays, and that's what I like about him. And I can only and my thought process is he's gonna get no less than 4 picks, and he's always gonna be around the ball because he's that type of player. So I just think he's gonna be up there.
Okay. So to finish out, I guess to go through the rest of the top 24 here, we'll circle back to a few guys. Jonathan Abram at 14 didn't get to play really any of his rookie season. Kevin Bayard at 15. Keanu Neal at 16 hasn't played in a couple of years, it feels like, at all. Tyrann Matthew 17. Jeremy Chin, our first rookie, at 18. So a guy that we thought maybe this could be a sleeper is a sleeper no longer as he's climbed all the way to the 18 spot. And according to Patrick, maybe even be competing for
I'm the rookie of the year. I'm the rookie of the year.
in IDP fantasy. 19, Malcolm Jenkins. 20, HaHa Clinton Dix in Dallas. 21, Justin Reed. 22, Von Bell. 23, Adrian Amos. And 24, Bradley McDougald, who was swapped in the trade with Jamal Adams. So Bradley McDougald playing with the Jets now. So guys, of this group here, this cluster that could really kind of go anywhere, it feels like up and down, up and down. Are there any guys here that you had a very difficult time ranking? Anyone in this cluster here, in this group?
For me, it was probably 2 guys. One, it was Keanu Neal because of the injury history. I mean, obviously, we got him at 16, but he's a player that could end up being in the top 10, top 5 if he's on the field. But the other one for me was Jeremy Chin, believe it or not, just because Carolina has switched back to a 4-3 defense. They've got a pretty good front 7, all things considered, and that does worry me. But at the same time, Carolina's secondary is garbage. It is absolutely horrendous, and I think Jeremy Chin and David Boston both are going to be pretty busy back there. So that's kind of why I had him right in the middle of this group here. Pretty much. Actually, I had him a little bit higher than this, but still, I had him as more of like a DB2 versus a DB1 in most like traditional IDP leagues.
I don't know why you think our defense is. I mean, we've still got Luke. Oh, never mind.
That's right.
Thomas. Oh no, we don't.
No joke.
Well, I mean, there's still James Brett. Well, no.
I like your
you,
defensive line. Well, just to get on the Jeremy Chin thing, like I don't think your front 7's that great personally. I think you have one linebacker.
And that's the thing. He's playing outside. He's not even playing middle anymore. So
who? What? I mean, who are you talking about?
Tahir Whitehead's playing in the middle now.
This year he is.
Yeah.
So Thompson's not playing.
No, he's playing outside in a 4-3.
Yeah, Pat texted me over the weekend. It was like, Shaq's outside, not inside. He immediately drops outside of my linebacker.
Yes, he dropped tremendously on my rankings.
That doesn't mean he's not going to be pushed in like certain packages that maybe only require one linebacker.
I don't know if we're going to be getting in those kind of packages. I think
you're going to have to. It's the NFL. You're going to have to run some dime.
Oh, yeah, eventually, sure. But we're not going to run dime enough for it to make a difference, I think, with his stats.
Well, I don't know, man. And same thing with nickel. As long as he's in the game, like I think Tahir Whitehead is not. Tahir Whitehead's a chump.
He is a chump.
At this point in his career, that's why he keeps moving around. Anyways, it's here and there. A player that I had a tough time placing was Von Bell.
Yes.
I just didn't know what his volume's looking like. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like they've got 3 really good safeties because he's in Cincinnati right now.
Yes.
Yeah. These are strong safeties.
They got 3 safeties, and it was very hard for me to really place him. I didn't know what to do with him.
It's funny you say that, Cody, because literally off the show, maybe Pat, an hour ago, 2 hours ago, me and Pat literally were on the phone talking about Von Bell and his role in the defense and debating, arguing over what we thought because Pat, you have Von Bell at 15, I think.
Yeah, I do.
16.
And I've got Von Bell at 34.
Yeah,
Uh,
16.
even though he's a starting strong safety in Cincinnati. And the reason for that is 2 years ago and prior, they were running a lot of 3 DB sets. They've talked about doing that because of Lamar Jackson division. Sean Williams had the most defensive snaps of his career last year, the most tackles of his career last year. Like, I have a hard time believing that he's just going to disappear. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to utilize him at all. And so I think Von Bell's takes both of their production drops, but Von Bell gets more than Sean Williams, but it kind of drags Bell
Yeah.
down a little bit. So I kind of had the same thought.
Yeah, I agree with. I think he definitely gets more than Sean Williams. Sean Williams plays because I think Sean Williams is just a good player, and he's a smart player, but he's also an old player.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought, I don't know. I definitely had a tough time. I wanted to. There was one point like I had him sitting at like 28, 27, and then I started moving him up, and it was just a weird placement for him. I didn't know what to really do. But I like everybody else. I think Bradley, we talk about Adams like in the trade and Adams going to Seattle. I like Bradley better with the Jets.
Yeah. Playing in that. Is he going to play strong safety there?
I would assume so
Strong
because
safety,
they got
right?
Marcus May playing free, right?
Free safety, yeah. But Bradley played free safety in Seattle. Is that right?
He did. Well,
then
he
maybe
switched around a little bit. He switched.
He moved.
Yeah.
Didn't he move back and forth?
He did.
Maybe
Okay.
Marcus May's going to be playing. I don't know. Maybe Marcus May's going to.
At the moment, Marcus May is supposed to be the strong safety in New York, and Bradley's going to be playing free safety.
Okay.
Now, with that said, they also have him listed, Marcus May listed as the backup to free safety, which leaves me to believe Marcus May is going to be very versatile in that defense.
Yeah. Well, I thought he was a really good. He got drafted the same year they drafted Adams.
Yeah.
He came out of Florida, and I thought that was a killer pickup.
He could be a decent sleeper this year, for sure. Keep
Am
your
I
eye
the
on
only
him
one?
late in the draft.
Am I the only one that ranked him?
You are. You had him at 34. Yep.
Which I think that's fair. I mean,
That's fair. Yeah.
last year he had 65 total tackles and 1 interception. So, I mean, that's a decent year. And he didn't miss any games either.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you just real quick, then we'll move on. The player I had trouble with was Clinton Dix in Dallas. On the 1-year deal there, we haven't seen a Dallas safety be very relevant in fantasy, in IDP fantasy. And playing behind Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, he's supposed to play a lot in the middle this year. Like, I just don't know what it's going to look like for Clinton Dix, the opportunity. They didn't really invest a ton in him. I think it's like a 1-year, $5 million deal or something like that. So I just don't really know. I did have some trouble with him, ranking him, and I just kind of felt this was the right spot. But I really don't know what's going to happen with Clinton Dix. So you guys kind of put him in the same spot as I did, so I felt okay with it. But
we
I
did.
just didn't know what to do.
That's one of the more like universal like players probably outside of like the very top maybe. Like we're all really close, 19 and 20.
Yeah.
He has potential to be good though. But I'm like you. I'm just kind of iffy on it. Do I really consider him like a top 12 guy, or is he really more in the bottom? Like it's super volatile, like the way I view him. Depending on what day of the week it is.
I look at him as like most of the time he's a consistent player wherever he's at. And I also look at Dallas, like Dallas never has a killer safety that's sitting up there in the top 15, but Dallas always has like both their safeties sitting in the top 30.
I mean, Jeff Heath is a badass, right? I mean, come on. It's a fantasy.
Xavier Wood.
Now, he actually did actually come on last year, yeah.
Yeah.
He actually was solid. So we'll see what we get with I mean, I think where he is very fair, consensus 20. I think that's a very fair spot for him.
I mean, he definitely has an opportunity to finish better, and I think that's why you rank him where you rank him.
Yeah, yep. Next group here, our next 12. All of these guys should be rostered, definitely will be on teams this year. Ronnie Harrison in Jacksonville. I really feel like this could be a breakout year for him. He was drafted in the 3rd round a couple years back. He's getting a little more opportunity every year. I really feel like this could be the season. Eddie Jackson, Darnell Savage in year 2. Terrell Edmonds at 28. Kareem Jackson, 29. Jalen Mills at 30. Jaquiski Tart, 31. Adrian Phillips at 32. Chuck Clark in Baltimore at 33. Antoine Winfield Jr. at 34 in Tampa. 35, Kenny Vaccaro, and 36, Kevin King, cornerback in Green Bay. I think our first cornerback, if I'm not mistaken.
That is right.
On the board here. So Kevin King actually had a solid season last year. Guys, in this group of 12 here, anyone that we want to focus on? I mean, someone I wanted to briefly mention was Terrell Edmonds because we talked about him a few minutes ago. You guys both have him significantly higher than I do. Pat all the way at 20, Cody at 28. I got him at 41. I think I'll just kind of tell you what my thoughts were, and you let me know what you think. I had him so low because really no other reason than all of the guys on the defense can't be studs. You know what I mean? Like T.J. Watt's there; he's going to be an absolute monster. Bud Dupree, Cameron Hayward, all on the line. Devin Bush, Minka Fitzpatrick. Like when I looked at this group of guys, I was like, all right, there's got to be somebody that I can't rank super high, and it was Terrell Edmonds. So I felt like I just had to bump him down, just based on all of the guys that he's playing with. Do you think that's fair? That's a fair assessment?
I mean, it's
Pat,
illogical.
you go and then I'll go.
I think it's illogical. I mean, it's just like when you analyze receivers, right? I mean, you look at target shares. All right, I'm predicting this quarterback's going to have this many attempts throughout the season. All right, where you break that up, there's going to be only so many tackles made by that Pittsburgh defense. And so, mathematically speaking, it's impossible for all those guys to finish in, the top tier of their position, which I don't think any of us are even arguing that. But still, I think it does hurt both Terrell Edmonds and Minka Fitzpatrick's value going into the draft.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that in terms of, people stealing stats from other guys, but at the same time, with the way I feel about Terrell Edmonds is going to be in the box 70% of the time. Terrell Edmonds' opportunity is going to be there. There's a chance that our offense isn't as great, so the defense could be out there a lot if Big Ben isn't, to form. So I think there's that opportunity for there to be a lot of defensive snaps for him. But even then, I just think he's going into his third, fourth year. I think it's his third, and this is a make or break season for him. He's really got to play up to it. And if I can see him, I think his floor is a little lower in terms of fantasy, not as a player, because as a player, Minka's ridiculously good. But as a fantasy thing, I think his floor is a lot higher than Minka's because he's going to get the tackles. He's going to end up with 70, 80 tackles. That's just how I feel about it. And he's the only one in this back half that outside of maybe Eddie Jackson, I can.
Okay. Yeah, I hope he does. I would like to see him have a great year. Drafted in the first round. I think it was 3 years ago, going into his third season with his brother, Tremaine Edmonds, who we talked about in the linebacker episode last week, I guess. Kareem Jackson, KJ, playing next to Justin Simmons. Patrick, this is a guy that you have not been able to get over for at least a couple seasons now, it feels like.
No, I haven't. I remember last
you
year.
You have him the highest.
Yeah,
again.
I caught a lot of flack this time last year when we did our DB rankings because I had Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons ranked extremely high, both in my within the top 14, 15 DBs. And really, Kareem Jackson was on track to finish, I believe, at DB 16 overall before the injuries happened. And that's the thing with Kareem Jackson. When he is playing, that dude steals the show. He's honestly, when you look at tackles and stuff, he's actually better than Justin Simmons in a lot of ways. But the issue here is the fact with the injuries. And that's kind of why I don't have him super high. I've got him ranked at 27. So not a lot much higher than we have him here in our consensus rankings, honestly. But that's my biggest knock on Kareem. I'd like to see him play a full season and get more of a sample size, especially with that defense this year.
All right. Kareem Jackson, the Kareem of the crop.
That's right. The cream of the crop.
Come on, man.
Uh, we'll move along here. Well, real quick, Antoine Winfield Jr., rookie in Tampa, going to be playing strong safety. Is that right?
Yes, he'll be their
Next to
strong
Jordan Whitehead?
safety. Yeah, at the
Okay.
moment at least.
I think that's very interesting because this is a Tampa team. They should have a lot of guys. They should be up or at least competitive in a lot of games with Brady there in that offense, allowing plenty of opportunity, I think, for the secondary to get tackles. He is actually ranked on all three of our lists, which is unusual when we get this far down. So I think all of us are pretty excited about him. Pat, you had him, oh my goodness, up at 26.
Yeah,
So significantly higher than both Cody and I did, but he made our list. I think we're all excited about him. The very last group here, this is the group it's very, very ugly to look at, but given that there's 24 teams and you're going to roster 2 DBs, all of these guys I would imagine are going to be rostered most of the season. Anthony Harris at 37 there in Minnesota, 38, Kari Willis, 4th-round pick of the Colts from last season, should be starting safety. Micah Hyde, Carl Joseph at 40, 41, Sean Williams, how the mighty have fallen. 42, rookie grade in Cleveland, 43, Kyle Fuller, another cornerback. 44, Jordan Whitehead playing next to Antoine Winfield. 45, Demarius Randall, formerly of Cleveland, playing in with the Las Vegas Raiders. 46, Kenny Moore. 47, Juan Thornhill. And 48, rookie Xavier McKinney. Guys, any comments on this group here? I mean, this is the group that anything could happen, right? Like Carl Joseph's playing strong safety in Cleveland. He could be a very solid player, or he could disappear like he has for most of his career at times, right? In and out. I mean, any thoughts on any of these guys here that you want to talk about?
well, I think Carl Joseph is, like you said, what's going to happen, because that's another dude who's, if he's on the field, like, you've got to start him. There's no way you don't start Carl Joseph in most IDP leagues, especially if you favor tackles like our league does. I think Carl Joseph is a stud, but again, is he going to be able to play a full season there in Cleveland? He should be able to, and if he does, the linebacker core is not super strong. I could see him playing in the box a little bit more than he may feel comfortable doing, honestly.
So so Pat, you've got Carl Joseph at 28. I've got Carl Joseph at 42, and Cody's got him at 48. So Pat, you got your way up on him. So take Patrick's advice with a grain of salt because he's all over Carl Joseph this year. Cody, any thoughts on any of these guys here? This last cluster?
I mean, me personally, man, like I kind of like Anthony Harris this year, maybe going in as one of those guys that has a shot. He's a really good player, like overall. He's not playing that like high tackle, high volume guy, but he definitely like gets his fair share, and he's an athletic guy, so he'll make plays on the edge, you know. And I think he's around the ball a lot. So I think for a guy that's gonna have opportunities, gonna play on a good defense, has a chance to maybe shoot up into that, you know, DB2 range for sure, or be in that DB2 range, like high early DB2. He's a good guy to look at late, maybe, you know, 9th, 10th round.
Yeah, he came on last year in Minnesota. He had a pretty good season. I'm interested to see some of these new guys and these new faces and new places type thing, right? Like Kari Willis, and he hasn't changed teams, but he's a second-year player in Indy. Carl Joseph obviously is in Cleveland now. Grant Delpit, a rookie in Cleveland. Demarius Randall's in Las Vegas. You know, Xavier McKinney's a rookie. I mean, these are all guys that they're learning new playbooks this year in a weird season where they're really not getting a lot of camp. They're not getting any preseason. So I am interested to see what happens with them because if they miss, they're going to be terrible, I feel like. But if they hit, I mean, a guy like Carter Willis in Indy locking down one of those safety positions, he could easily be a top 25 guy, maybe, if he gets all the snaps and stuff playing behind Darius Leonard. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Like
anything else?
No, I was just gonna say, like, honestly, all these guys, as high as we are on some of them, and as low as we are on some of them, we all know DB is the most volatile position week to week. In fact, out of the top 24 DBs from last season, only one of them did not fall below 20 points in one of their games. Everyone else at least had one game where they fell to single digits in a week or to like 19, 18 points in a game. And sometimes multiple times. So that tells you they're either getting you like 80 or they're getting you 8. So there's, I mean, literally.
Is that Buda Baker, the only guy who didn't drop below 20?
No, actually, Tracy Walker.
Wow. Okay. Tracy Walker. What would you look at that?
All
right, guys.
I want to
Go
say
ahead.
one thing, and I also want to point out that for like safety, the DB general, like DB position in general, like all these guys, even guys that are in the 20 to 30 range or the 30 to 40 range, I don't even think there's some really good names in there, and I think this is one of the positions that there's so many names and so many people can go off from week to week that it's not even a bad idea to maybe like run flyers on the safety position. Like I really, as a strategy for myself, I really don't like target secondary very early in the draft just because I know that I can find someone late in the draft maybe or even somebody in free agency that develops throughout the year that turns out to be someone really good. I mean, it happens every year, so there's always a guy out there. You don't have to get the top guy. Top guys always emerge.
Yeah, I mean, you saw in the waiver wire some of those guys like Jordan picking up guys like John Johnson, right? Scooping up really good talent there and not worrying about having to draft early or anything like that. Um,
I think Jordan
finding
got
that play
Derwin.
late. Or Derwin James, that's right, not John.
Yeah.
Who got John Johnson? He got
Uh,
Derwin James.
I
That's
think
right.
maybe one of the new kids. I don't know. Somebody. It was like
Yeah.
the third or fourth pick. Maybe it was Peyton or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it went pretty early. All right, guys. Well, that's it for the show for this week. Next week, I'm not sure what we got next week, but I know we're pretty much done with our rankings now. We're getting very close to the draft, so we're going to be doing things like pre-draft discussion. After the draft, we're going to talk about we're going to break down the teams and what they look like and stuff, the owners before the actual season starts and things like that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Anything else from you guys before we're out?
Nope.
Nope. All
Yeah,
right.
we'll
Well,
see you guys
we'll,
next
see you
week.
next week. All right.